Something we've discussed a lot on the show is the role that events play in developing a community. Put simply, the more events we have, the better. But it's really not always that simple. Scott Ziegler is the event organizer for Skate Camp. Skate Camp is a 3-day-long event that takes place in and around Titusville, Florida. Scott has big plans for this year, including a fully sanctioned marathon race called the Maytown Marathon that is sure to attract some of the scene's most competitive riders. It's important to note, however, that Skate Camp is for everyone. The marathon is really the only competitive component. It's mostly about riding skateboards, being in nature, and hanging out with some good friends. We go in depth on this as well as what Skate Camp really is and what can be expected this time around. It seems like a truly one-of-a-kind experience. In addition to all of this, we also got to talking about the IDSA and the many things that are currently being done, as well as the many things that can still be done. If you're interested in what happens at the IDSA, or interested in helping out yourself, be sure to listen through to the end. As always, I'm your host, Max Frank. Thank you for tuning in. All right, welcome to the Skating in Circles podcast. I'm here with Scott Ziegler. Scott, how you doing today?
Hey, Max. Thank you. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Very well.
And just so the people know, where are you coming from? Where do you live?
Okay, so I'll try to paint a vivid picture for you. I'm here in Miami. I'm in my home studio office where I run my business. I do IDSA stuff. I stuff envelopes. I make T-shirts. I figure out race plans, but then also just surround myself with all my toys. Got lots of skateboards around, obviously, artwork, and it's kind of my creative space that I've enjoyed making for myself.
That's awesome. Seems like a common theme here. Everyone on the cast seems to show up with all their gear in the background in their safe space, their like skate shop or whatever. I think Adam was in his basement. Yeah, it looks like you've got some stuff around, a little skate rack. Nice. Is that the Pantheon one? Didn't he make one? He made like the rack of skateboards.
No, that rack's from just like a company on Etsy that I ordered from that had a good reputation and a really good product. I paid like $100 for it and it fit 7 boards. And that's actually kind of how I try to keep my quiver at bay is the that rack I try to keep things to. I've been pretty unsuccessful at that, but those are the ones that my girlfriend knows about. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think that's really cool. We'll have to. I'll link like a little link to those because I think those racks are really helpful. I have one in my basement. Everyone should have one. Yeah. So, question: when was your first time skateboarding?
So I guess I kind of have a boring first time skateboarding answer, but I grew up in Syosset, New York, which is out on Long Island, like suburb New York City. And I was probably about 10 and I had a Nash and, I rode around the neighborhood a little bit, but frankly, I was more into bikes and mountain biking. 10, 11, 12, 13, like through middle school, I was all about bikes and, I guess a better answer is I kind of rediscovered skateboarding. I was 32. I actually just moved back from New York City to Miami Beach, and I really didn't want to get a car. And maybe 3 weeks into living there, I had my bike stolen, and I was kind of bummed out. I was sitting at a bar, and I saw this guy on a longboard just cruising through. He was doing like dance moves and flip tricks, like the type of stuff Daniel Lindsay makes easy, looks easy to him. I was sitting there and I was like, man, that looks really cool. So I went on Amazon. I'm guilty, but I bought my first board on Amazon. I bought a Sector 9 pintail. Rode it. I lived on Miami Beach, so it was a very skateboard friendly place to live. I can basically get everywhere by skateboard via the beach.
Hmm.
So I was quite fortunate to have that situation. But that's when I really started, you know, going a mile here or there, 2 miles, 3 miles, and learning. Like first, I pushed Mongo. Are you allowed to say that now? But
Yeah,
whatever the term is.
sure, whatever.
When I first started skating, pushed Mongo, kind of then learned to push with both feet, and surely but slowly but surely, it kind of just became a stronger skater. But unfortunately, that Sector 9 actually got run over by a Prius.
By a
Um,
Prius.
yeah, this I felt really bad. I totally lost control of the board, and it went into the street. And this old guy, like in his 80s, ran over it, and they got so scared that they like killed someone. The guy pulled over, and he took one look at a board, and the board was actually like under his tire still, and like just like mangled. And he took one look at me, and he took one look at his car that was actually a little damaged. And he said, "I think your board's in worse shape because let's just part ways." Like
Nice.
after that, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
um, but that's what happened to the first board.
I mean, that could go any number of ways, right? It's probably one of the better situations that the board gets damaged and little bits of the car.
Especially Miami. This city has a bit of a bad situation with bike safety and cars not respecting people in anything other than a car. We have a lot of traffic deaths here. So you're right. That was a good outcome. In fact, I don't even ride on that road anymore because they tried to make it safer where they put these like rubber buffers in the
Hmm.
bike lane to keep kind of cars out, but it actually makes it way more dangerous because you can't avoid anything in the lane. And there's actually been a lot of people that have gotten hurt there. So I don't even ride there anymore, but that's just all kind of silly background, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, that's good. That's good. Miami is tough. I feel like you said, down by the beach, it seems like really nice place to skate. But once you get into those roads, it never
Right.
seems bike friendly.
So the beach is cool when you go at the right time, like because it actually gets kind of jammed up with pedestrian traffic, and
Right.
like people with their heads up their asses walking their dogs without leashes, and like more dangerous situations because the pedestrians
Yeah.
and a lot of people being on one path. Towards the north part of the beach, the path actually gets a lot wider. When you get closer to South Beach, more drunk people, more tourists flopping around. So
Mhm.
there's good and bad air at the beach, but I love that your podcast is called Skating in the Circles.
Yeah.
As a marketing guy and someone that skates a couple thousand miles of circles a year, I kind of really appreciate it. But
Yeah.
I have a few circles here in Miami that I skate. I have a route on a golf course on this place called Normandy Island that I like. It's like a 2 mile loop that's in a gated kind of neighborhood, so it's like
Nice.
perfect and safe. And then I actually ride. I don't know if anyone follows me on Strava, but they'll see a lot of circles. And I actually skate a lot in my neighborhood. I have like a 0.88 mile loop in my neighborhood, and my neighbors think I'm crazy. 20, 30 laps at a time, over 2 hours. Like,
Yeah. Skate trips are like really fun when you don't have to loop, but I feel like anyone who's trained or anyone who's just really into it ends up looping somewhere, right? Like you either have 2 mile loops or less, like you have, or you have like a 10 mile loop. Like at some point, you're
sure.
going to turn around and come back. That's just what we do. We skate in circles.
Correct. So kudos on the very appropriate name.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So one of the things that I've noticed since I've gotten to know you, right, is you've played a huge role in working with the IDSA, and I have this sort of point of contact as your title, but I think it's much more than that. I say point of contact mostly because anytime I've reached out to say Andy or Joner, right, they'd be like, "Oh, Scott's the guy for that. Actually, you should talk to Scott," right? Like, and maybe for other things that's not true, but it seems like you're really taking over and you're really kind of holding it down, so to speak. So, quick question. When did you first start, I guess, picking up tasks for IDSA, and how did this all come to be? Because I imagine it was gradual, right?
Yeah. How much time you have?
We get all the time you need.
So it's quite a long story, but I guess it starts in June of 2020, and I was. We'll talk about it later, but I was starting to promote my first event, which was skate camp. And Andy and Jonah are good friends of mine, and I went to Jonah one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, I'd really like to put out an IDSA email and plug my event. Like, is that cool?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, that's cool. Like, and your event looks awesome. Like, I'd love to support, and let me help you find event insurance, all this other stuff." But he was like, "There's actually no one here to send the email. Like, I really don't know how to do it." Like, that was Callie's thing. And Callie, did great work and filled a lot of roles at some point, and kind of decided to, pursue some other things, and literally went out to go play in the woods for like a year. And I hope she's still
Yeah.
having a good time doing that. But it left a bit of a vacuum, particularly with some of the marketing stuff. So being a marketing guy, immediately I'm like, I can send an email. Like, I send marketing emails all day. Like, it's really no problem. So it started with me getting access to MailChimp and sending a newsletter. And about at the same time, Adam Ornelas, he had volunteered to run the virtual race last year. He really stepped up, and he had like virtually no help at all. I know Andy helped him with some advisement, showed him web score and stuff like that, but like he was more or less on his own. And so I also volunteered to help with the communications aspect of the Tour de Longboard last year. So started doing those things, and then little weird things happened, like the website crashed.
little things.
Who knows how to do that? I guess I know how to do that. So I restored the website. In doing that, realized that our membership data sucked, and started plugging all the holes in the website, and realizing what really needs to happen is we just need a new website. So some free time that I had around December ended up just moving us to Shopify, which was kind of already parked. The IDSA had it because they were selling some merch for like, what was it, the Goose Chase and like a few other things. So like that account was already set up and it was being paid for. So like I just knew that it would be like easy, frictionless, and I knew that there was a good membership platform app that we can use. So moved everything over there in like December, and then from there, like some weird things happened that just kind of like got me emotionally involved. So like I launched the website, and like immediately, like the day of we launched the website, like someone wrote in who I'm actually cool with now, and I feel a little bad about it, but like he kind of wrote something like, "Hey, like nice new website, but like why don't you finish posting the race results from 2 years ago," or something like that. And like I started realizing that there were like some legit reputational problems, and wanted to kind of start fixing them one by one. So that's really how it snowballed, really. And just along the way, like started picking up other things. Another big one that just kind of got me involved was, I think it was like August of last year, and Andy and Jonah still hadn't sent any of the member gifts, which was the socks.
Wow.
And like I'm sitting there and I'm like, by the way, like they did, I don't, nothing bad about them. Like,
of course not.
Like they did all the work, but like there came a time that they started to do other things and got burnt out. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm here today also. Happy to pick up where they left off, but like I'm talking to Andy and I'm like, how do we get these out? And Andy's like, well, I usually get envelopes and I write everyone's names on it. And I'm just like, dude, no. Like, I in PR agencies, we used to send like tons of mail and stuff like that. So like I knew how to do it. So went on Amazon, I bought the right size poly bags, I bought the right size labels, printed all the labels out, got the membership data, and like I did it all in an evening. And they're like, holy crap, like that would have taken me like, forever, and I would have handwritten. And I was just like, all right, this organization needs some help. I have some time. I feel good doing it. So it just snowballed from there.
Well, yeah, like you can clearly see based on what you've just shown and and anyone who's run any sort of project, right? How much goes into all this, and just something as simple as sending out an email. Like, you need a system for it. If you don't have a system for it, it's going to seem a little more daunting, right? Whereas you're an individual who's, like you said, you've done this before, sent out mass emails, you sent out mass regular mail. So you have the system in place, right? You just kind of need to facilitate it like you would any other day. And it's a skill, right? You've really used your skills in a great way, and to fill the void that, as you said, Andy and Jonah alone can't do all this. They're doing enough on their own. They've got other things, right? It's mostly a volunteer thing. You have to live your other life, right? Your normal life. And it's great that you've really filled the void. So on behalf of everyone, thank you for that. I've definitely seen the impact myself. I got my gear this year. Really happy with the
I was really happy to bring that to you at Ladiga and personally deliver that. That was nice.
Yeah. I got the Decine hydration pack for anyone who's interested. It's actually really nice. It's got the IDSA patch on it with IDSA colored zipper tags. Really cool. And it's actually a really great bag. I've used it on hikes and for skating.
Yes. So, I guess that was another thing that kind of got me hooked into this role was starting to make stuff. So one of the things I find particularly fulfilling about this is, I have a pretty steady career job, but like I don't get to do super creative stuff all the time. So one of the things I really enjoy is like getting to do like some of the identity stuff and making the sticker packs and some of the, creative work, and producing the member gifts is something that's actually, I think, really important. Like this year was the hats, and they came out awesome. Like the feedback was super cool. And like just seeing people wearing them like out on Instagram, out on long rides, like, for example, like I'll check Instagram and I'll see like Tim 2K out in the Netherlands, like with his trailer, like on his 12th day, and he's out in his IDSA hat, or people out in Singapore. When I showed up to Ladiga, there's like 6 or 7 people wearing them.
Yeah.
So like the member gifts and the merch and the clothing, it's like, yes, we make a little bit of, money on it to, help run the organization. But like, to me, it's like, it's about identity. Like any kind of culture, like has like clothing to support it. So that's part of it.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point you just made there. Every sport has its own sort of clothing. Every activity needs its certain items, and the Ultra Skate t-shirts / jerseys that they've given out every year have like evolved since the beginning. And I remember one year there were like basketball pennies, like jerseys, right? And they were cool, right? But they were like a little too long. And then they did like, oh, let's try like a soccer type, soccer type jersey. And that one seemed to work pretty well. And then they kind of do like the bike thing, right? Like,
my favorite one's the bike, the G-Bomb bike one with the pockets in the back. That's my favorite.
I think that's like the best one they've made, right? And it's really cool to see it all evolve. So, and the hat is kind of its own thing too, right? It's like its own style and everything. So it's a great job.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of actual details in that. From the company that we source it from, it's a Colorado company that does all the hats for the endurance events. Like all the ultra marathons, like Tailwind sources their hats from them, like all these big races. And there's little design things, like it's actually meant to be light so you can wear it under your helmet. Like, so I guess the point I'm trying to make is like all the member gifts are going to be something really functional for skating, as long as I'm kind of producing them. And that's actually something we're about to start planning for next year, because one of the things that I didn't know stepping into this role, which kind of got bungled, was we need to have our member gifts produced before Ultra so people can bring them back to Europe.
Oh,
we get killed on shipping fees, and then our members, sometimes get taxed on this stuff when they get on on the way in. So it's, we're going to work on fulfillment for next year. And a big part of that is getting it done by February. So whoever from Europe can just bring over a big suitcase and, that way they can get it in person. Because one of the things that I particularly didn't like was, our members getting taxed and like, for example, when I first started sending the socks, the socks cost whatever pair of socks cost, not much. They're costing me $14 to ship to certain places. And it's just like, they got to get out.
Yeah.
But so we were kind of in a bad situation last year with that. But, working to improve that for sure. That's a big priority.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tease a little bit. The big gift for this year for still working on the membership levels, but is going to be a sling bag / fanny pack
nice.
from a really cool company called Genji. It's actually right here. They sent me one as a sample, so I've been testing it quite a bit. But imagine kind of something like this. It's a super sweet bag, super functional. Like when you're just like going for a quick skate, it's not like what you're going to take on a 20-mile trail ride, but this is what you're going to take like to the store real quick, or could even hold like a water bottle. It's super functional. Actually, Gavin Conti turned me on to the company, and he's obviously quite a discerning gear snob.
Yeah.
Been testing this the last few months and pretty much ready to put in the order, and then we'll figure out how to customize them with a patch and make them cool.
Yeah. That's so funny because you're talking about like potential items you can, for gear. And I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them about this idea I have where you get like a sling bag or something. And then you go, this next idea is this like sling bag we're working on. So perfect timing. I think that's exactly the kind of thing people use on a skate race or on a skate ride rather, where, as you said, it's not too much to bring. It's not a huge pack, but oftentimes I want to bring my phone for like safety purposes, and I don't have a pocket that fits it, but I would rather have just like some sort of fanny pack that wouldn't jostle around and wouldn't be too tight, right? You got to just find like perfect sweet spot item. And I think that one looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I'm actually moving away from like hydration packs on my back, like unless I'm going out for like 2+ hours, and I just take like a refillable bottle or something like that. I like to ride with these, soft flasks.
Yeah.
I love these things. They collapse into nothing. So
those are so good.
That I might actually try to get some of those produced soon as well. So
that's so cool.
Another thing coming.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got a lot going on, and it's almost like the task is not is just getting caught up with all your ideas. It's not so much anymore like at the beginning. It seems like you were cleaning things up, getting them to where they are now, and now you're like really starting to branch out. Is that what's going on?
I think so. I think most of the stuff is cleaned up. But there's still work to do. Like one thing that's going to get a lot of attention in the next few weeks even is going to be measurement. So Viola Weinhardt at Misfits, I mean, she pretty much, she broke the world record for the marathon, but we're having a problem right now because the course wasn't measured with a wheel.
Ooh.
Yeah. So no, but I mean, it's no problem because it can retroactively be measured.
Yeah.
So right now I'm figuring out with Leonard Van Peppel, who's freaking awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
So much knowledge that guy has, like about like timing systems, course measurement, all that stuff. We're going to work out a protocol, and I actually just purchased what's called a Jones timer or a Jones clock, Jones counter. And it's like the gold standard in measuring courses. Attaches to a bicycle wheel. So you can like measure like 35-mile courses on a bike, doing 20 miles an hour. And it's like the most accurate thing that's out there.
Oh, cool.
So I actually just purchased one. I guess we'll get into it in a little bit, but purchased it to measure my own course for my event in November. That's going to be IDSA property now. Any event organizer is going to be able to, just pay for shipping. We'll send that out to them. we'll have the protocol. So this way, if someone breaks a world record again, we can immediately verify it. And like, we have our course measured because, of all the things I like doing, the one thing that I don't like doing is like dealing with this record stuff. Like people get so testy and like, I'm not the super detail oriented one that like, cares about the document, but like I realize how important it is. So like, that's why I'm really happy I'm getting help from other people, but like I realize that that's like another area that like it came up this week that needs to get cleaned up. But
Sure.
just a lot of progress, but like it's almost like peeling layers of an onion where it's like, once one thing happens, like I realize that there's kind of another thing that needs to get sorted out. But like, long story short, I think from where things were last year to now, I think people realize that there is some effort being put into it, and I really hope that the credibility kind of follows. Yeah, I don't want to be like presumptuous with this types of stuff. Like again, it's like the aspect that I don't like. I just want to like grow the sport and get more people involved and kind of give back what I got. But people take this stuff really seriously. So like I realize that it needs to be taken seriously. And again, I'm happy that there are people on the team like the Leonards of the world that like that is their jam, where they're just like, yeah, like rules, process, like I didn't even know what the world like he knows all like the organizations that like set the metrics for sports. Like it's just impressive, his knowledge. So like again, glad to have other people to help guide those types of things.
It takes a community, right? It takes a village, and that's just it. You got to use all the resources at your disposal. And like in regards to spreading the sport, having the records up there does do that. New people or people coming back see the new records and they get motivated to go. Like, and the fact that if it were like curated in this professional way, that would definitely look great. It's not like you guys aren't doing that, right? It's not like the IDSA isn't putting out great stuff. So we should, I don't know, just take note. Like you can't do it all at once. Everything takes time, and we're moving in the right direction. So
yeah, absolutely. And I guess there is a little bit more nuanced stuff going on there, like particularly with the marathon record. But I will say I think it's going to all be cleared up very, very soon. And like maybe this is a good opportunity to kind of segue into skate camp.
Yeah,
because I don't want to put any pressure on anyone, but there is going to be a opportunity in the United States to compete in a legit marathon race in November.
And this will be timed and measured with the Jones counter?
With the Jones counter, exactly. That's what it's coming for. So
awesome.
Again, that's kind of why it came up this week, all the measurement stuff.
Sure.
But anyway,
let's get into skate camp. Let's talk about it.
Definitely.
So we talked a little bit about this in Gavin's episode and in Adam's, but I would like you to just describe real quick, what is skate camp and what's it all about? Tell us maybe a little history, whatever you got.
Sure. So like, I guess we'll start kind of with the beginning of the story. I, at some point, again, like when Callie kind of left the scene, she kind of left a little bit of a vacuum, and also in the skate event realm. And I guess sometime around the pandemic, I started going to less music festivals and more skate trips, with my vacation time. I was very fortunate to go to events like Skate Central Lakes. I did that awesome ride in Idaho. That was a few years ago with all the homies. And then aside from that, I kind of got a little obsessive about kind of researching trails and kind of different routes. And between 2020 and 2022, I took a decent amount of skate trips kind of to organize events, but then also solo ones. Was just really into like finding new rail trails and riding them. I did an awesome ride in New York where I went from New York City to New Paltz. I skated these awesome trails in Wyoming. I skated across Connecticut. on a rail trail. And then I started to find these like really awesome routes in Florida too. So like from going around the country and doing these rails trails, like I had like reference points as to like what a good trail system is. And then like I kind of realized that there was some really good ones in my backyard in Florida, like, 2, 3 hours away from my house. So in December 2020, I found this really good one that I want to skate, which is called East Coast Regional Trail. And that's where skate camp was last year and is going to be this year, and will be the reoccurring home of Maytown Marathon for years to come. But that's kind of Titusville, Florida area. And I went to go up and skate it in December 2020, and I reached out to Justin Bright. I don't know if you know who Justin is.
I've heard the name. He's a Florida skater, right?
Yeah, so Justin's from Florida. We actually went to the same university, but he's like 15 years younger than me. So like, we kind of bonded on the Idaho trip, and then I think he was also in Minnesota. So like we got to skate a lot together. Actually, before he did a skate across the state of Florida. Like he actually skate camped like I don't know what the mileage was, but like it was like a 15-day trip, I think, like that. And I actually went out and met him and gave him some support when he was out in the middle of the
That's
swamp.
so cool.
Yeah. So anyway, Justin came with me because he was preparing for that skate packing trip, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to test out all my equipment and like, let's go do it." So he met me out there, and we did like a 2-day trip. We skate packed from one end to the other on the first day, which is like 50 miles or something like that. And we stayed in this like beautiful campground. And when I was there that night, like I was like, that trail is just awesome, right? Like, and he's like, yeah, man, like we've done a lot of them together. That one's pretty freaking sweet. So I'm sitting at the campsite with him, and I was like, you know what? Like, I think I want to like bring everyone here and do an event. So that was kind of where the idea was conceived. The next day we woke up and had like a good hour on the trail, and then we got stuck in the rain for like 3 hours. I actually almost got hypothermia. Like it was the point where we were stopped and we were soaking wet. And I just turned to him like, I actually got to start moving again because like my hands were starting to shake because I was so cold. But like, it was like 78 degrees and I was like freezing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm really the only friggin' idiot that's ever gotten hypothermia in Florida. So like, we got to get moving. So anyway, like that was the introduction to the trail, right? So once I skated it, I was just like, okay, like how do I make this the coolest skate event that I can? So I started like thinking about, the events that I went to that Cali executed, and like, kind of picked things apart and was like, saw some things that could be done better, saw some things that strategically could make the event kind of more successful. So like an example of that is like the weekend I picked. I pick a weekend in November, and like the idea behind that is like that's when it starts getting cold where you are, for example. Like
Sure.
I don't think you can go pick up a board and go skate in November kind of comfortably. So
I will be, but yeah, will not be as comfortable. Sure.
right. So, but like I guess the point is like some places there's snow on the ground at that point. It's also like a good time in between ultra and kind of there's kind of a lull in events there. So like that was the weekend I picked, put a tent pole in it, and then the other thing too, and part of the thinking was why that trail and that location. I mean, first of all, the trail is absolutely incredible. Like it's flat, perfectly paved, like super minimal crossings. Like I think for the marathon route I have, like there's only like 2 that you might have to like look both ways.
Sure.
For a 13.1 mile stretch, and like it's out in the woods, you see birds of prey. Like trail is amazing,
That's
but
so
aside
cool.
from that, strategically it's a great place because it's 30 minutes from the Orlando airport. Anyone in the United States,
That's incredible.
probably the world, can get an inexpensive flight to Orlando. You know what I mean? So when designing the event, it was also a lot of thought went into how do I make this as easy as possible for someone to just hop on a flight with their board and a little bit of gear and just show up. So last year, like everything was free. I took care of the campsites. I took care of food. I kind of realized that like to get at a first year event kind of moving, you kind of got to make an investment.
Wow. So you paid for all the food, and was the camping reservation? Did you have to pay for that or?
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute, like, because I had to pull like a crazy audible last minute. I think Gavin kind of went into that, but yes, I took care of the campsites, also support vehicle, and by the way, I also did get donations from most of the participants, but like all said and done, I probably spent like $1,000 and like got to throw like my fantasy kind of skate event. So like it was cool, and it was great to not have to charge people to just come. So like that got the ball rolling. I think there's a lot of good feedback out there. So like again, this year I'm just asking for a donation again, but like we're really just it's a low cost, high value event where just get yourself there and kind of like just about everything else is going to be taken care of. I guess this year it's a little different because I am asking people to take care of their own campsites, and I'm kind of slowly kind of easing kind of more financial risk away from myself. But
Absolutely.
again, like it's money well spent. Like and like I'm really hoping to. I guess there's a bigger plan in play where I really have this kind of dream to kind of have this events kind of travel company,
Yeah.
and all the events I do is under the banner of I call it Fame Travel. Like there's a little Facebook page or whatever. I don't have a website yet, but ultimately one day I'd like to have a few race event kind of franchises, meaning like reoccurring events every year in a few strategic places. But then I'd really like to get into these kind of vacation skate trip kind of niche travel planning where maybe I can get 10, 15 people at a time to go skate 4 countries in Europe or
Oh,
Australia or like just I read this article recently about these people that were like financial planners and they quit their jobs and now all they do is organize beer events where they take like 20 beer nuts to Belgium and show them all the stuff, and that's what they do for their income now. And like, not that I think I'll ever make enough money where I can support myself doing this, but like it's pretty cool that there's people that do stuff like that. So kind of planted the seed a little bit. So
no, that's super cool. Like the thing, the whole concept of your Thane travel company is awesome. I remember Carlos telling me about it first because you sponsored La Diga. And I was like, oh, what is that?
yeah, I
And
forgot about that.
yeah, you did. And your concept's great. Like take a group of people, take all of the all the madness out of it, all the confusing parts, iron everything out for them. So all they have to do is show up with a board and camp gear or whatever.
I mean, there's a lot of sports that do that. Like, for example, I know a guy that's really into motorcycles, and he
Mm-hmm.
will not ride a motorcycle on the street in Miami, but he does things where, like, he goes with a tour company that ships a crates of motorcycles to Patagonia, Argentina. And, like it's like a whole organized tour. This guy does, 1,000 kilometers on his motorcycle and then he goes home to Miami like the next day.
Sure.
I think the cart's a little bit before the horse. I think, before that to be sustainable, there needs to be a little bit more interest in the sport, but hopefully that comes together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think great phrase there, cart before the horse, but not always the worst thing. And in
Yeah.
this case, like when you have the energy to put into it, like might as well just go for it. Content, right? Like Adam's content, for instance, is really good on
Oh, yeah.
YouTube and it doesn't get the amount of attention it should. And that's just because it's a little bit of that same situation. The cart before the horse, like there's not enough interest or exposure, knowledge about this for people to even type it into into YouTube, how to pump, right? And it
Yeah.
happens and it's getting attention, but just a matter of time. These things grow exponentially.
I think so, and I like to think I have a little bit of a role now in trying to grow it, and there's a lot more in play that like, man, if we had enough time, like there's so much going on with IDSA, but maybe we should stick to skate camp for the minute. So
Yeah.
like, in that kind of one of the things I do want to do is promote this event a little bit. So like again, like the idea with skate camp is it's designed for you to roll in, roll out, and just like have an amazing couple days on a great trail system with other great skaters. One of the things that's important to me is that like there's plenty of mileage, because if you're gonna get someone to travel, like they want to put some miles on a board, especially if they can't skate in the month, wherever they live. So plenty of miles, but then also it's important to me at my events that there's plenty of time to socialize.
Okay.
Like our sport is such a solo endeavor that I really think there needs to be more opportunities for people to, you know, like Ladiga is a good example. Like the first 2 days are great, but then the third day, like everyone's just so tired, like you
Yeah.
can't even it's just like food, bed. You're like a robot at that point. So like, in the planning, like I want there to be miles, and then this year also there's a race opportunity, but then also opportunities to socialize, chill out, hang out. And then also another big part of the event too is there's different routes within kind of the main routes. Like there's a midpoint in just about kind of all the different routes that are planned.
Hmm.
So you could come out and do half of it. You could, or you could shoot to do 13 miles. So it's approachable for different skill levels. So that was another thing that was important to me when planning a skate event, is that it appeals to the Adam Ornellises that want to break a fucking world record, and then the people that want to challenge themselves and dip their toe in the water and actually get their first kind of taste of a skate event. So that's kind of important to planning, and that's another thing that I'd like to kind of emphasize for other people that are planning their own events too, is to get appeal and to get people to come out to skate it. It's really difficult. So if you could appeal to more than just the core skaters that are trying to set a PR or win a race, that's gonna help make your event more successful, in my opinion.
It's really funny to hear you say those three things, right? Like how to, because Adam and Gavin said the same exact thing. It was one was skate camp is really cool because you can go hard or you don't have to go hard. But either way, you're going to challenge yourself because the mileage alone is pretty tough. And then at the end of every day, you're just hanging out with the community, which is the second thing, which is there's not enough time at events to just hang out and get to know each other, right? Ultra skate, for example, you're skating the whole time and then you have to sleep. And by the time you wake up, everyone's left, and beforehand you're stressing out about getting ready. So and then Ladiga, same way. You're just skating most of the time, which is great. It's a lot of fun, but there's the aftermath is, it'd be fun to hang out with each other. And then the third thing you said was accessibility. Ultra skate. Not a lot of people hear 24-hour skateboard on a speedway and think, "Oh, I want to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun." Whereas
it's also hard to get to and logistics wise, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
So accessibility alone has its own triple prong, three-pronged thing where it's getting there. How difficult is it? And what are you doing? What's the task? And with ultra skate, it's not as accessible. Whereas a marathon or a 5K, people will go and talk. They would love to say they skated a marathon, right? Even if it takes them 4 hours or whatever.
Sure.
It's still a great thing to do, and it's family friendly. I think is this other tiny sector that maybe doesn't get addressed enough with skate events.
Sure.
How approachable is it to bring a whole family to your thing? That's how you really grow a sport and grow a community, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're kind of bringing that up because, or emphasizing that, because, one thing that I'd like to encourage people to do more, from organizational level, host smaller events.
Mm-hmm.
We need the 5Ks, we need the 10Ks, we need the marathons. I'm not sure how many more Ladigas or ultra skate situations we need. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think we need more local, regional things. That are more approachable. And then the other thing to that too is like the smaller, like the easier it is. Like, it's way easier to find a 5K course. And then like another strategy that I'm trying to like work into everything is what they're doing in Europe. I call this piggybacking, where there's these other skate events like for inlining or these other marathon events, and they just come in as a category. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And they just it's already a race that's going on, and they're saying, hey, why don't we just come in on our skateboards and we could be another 20, 30 person category. So there's some opportunities I've identified here in the United States. There's an inline race in Duluth, Minnesota, that they just ran like last weekend. And then there's also one that they're doing in Sarasota, Florida in a couple weeks. A little late to get on that now, but like in the next few months when I get into kind of planning phase and get out of the Tour de Longboard stuff and executing the virtual events, like I will have more time to apply there. So like, yeah, so like if you see an event like that, like that's a really good opportunity to just, come in with something that's already established. Like it could even just be like a 5K run in your city where they already have the streets shut down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Andy and I, like we haven't done it yet, but we were supposed to do it last year when they had the Miami Marathon. They had the streets shut down, and we were gonna go out at like 4 a.m. and just skate all the streets because like it's shut down anyway. But like I think there's opportunities like that where if we're looking at it, we don't have to create an event from scratch. We can kind of just supplement, if you will, or again be another category. But really think the smaller events are important to kind of get people more involved.
100%. I love that marathon idea. I know my brother Harrison, Kyle, and JJ Cobb, for those who know who those people are. They went out to the Boston Marathon, did the exact thing you were saying. It's a big bike race they do, I'm pretty sure. They or not a bike race, it's just a ride. They roll out, it's all downhill, really chill. And they just got in the group with the cyclists. Like it wasn't an official event. It was just a thing going on that they were like, hey, we're going to join. And no one's going to be able to tell us no.
Well, check this out. So there's this new cycling league. Super cool. It's called National Cycling League, NCL. And what they do is they're hosting cycling races in like urban centers. So they did their inaugural race on Miami Beach. And they shut down this like 1.5 mile loop on Miami Beach, like right in the middle of the tourist area. They have a lot of money behind them, so they can do it. But what they did before the actual race was they invited the community out to ride the track. So I went out on the course with like 1,006 other cyclists, and I was the only one on a skateboard. But that like gave me the idea, like when there's other events that we can kind of. It doesn't just have to be for bikes. You know what I mean? Like we can play too.
Exactly. And that gets more people into it, people who may not know it exists, right? So
sure. I mean, one of the interesting things about ride like you get a lot of attention, like aside from like recumbent bikes, like we're kind of the weirdest people out there as far as our choice of transportation. So like you tend to get a lot of questions like I was joking like a year ago. Like I told like G-Bomb Mark that he needs to give me some like promo cards or something like that. Because there was like a month where I was getting stopped like 2 times during my ride. Like, hey, what is that? Is that electric?
Always is that electric? That's such a common question.
Is that electric? And then the other question is when you tell them it's like, one of your legs bigger than the other? Like that's the other one.
Yeah. That's funny. So yeah, I guess back to skate camp. Is there anything else you want to talk about in regards, I guess, to this year and sort of break down what's going to happen?
I guess, sure. Kind of going all over the place, but let me narrow it back to skate camp. So like, so last year, right? Last year turned out amazing, but like we had some adversity. Let's put it that way. So I was actually at a conference on behalf of IDSA where I was like, basically the gist of these conferences are, it's cities that want to host sports events and then people that host sports events. And it's like, you kind of get them together and they try to make more sports events babies. So I was there and this hurricane came through like right where I was having the event. Mm-hmm. And I was actually with like the Parks and Recreation people from Volusia County because they were at this conference.
Interesting.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey guys, like I'm about to have an event in your county and like what's going on here? And so like I had it in like to the right person and like was in communication with them, and like the whole time they were like, listen, it doesn't look good, but like we're gonna let you have your event. Like, don't worry. So like I reassured everyone, and then maybe like 3 days before the event, I think it was, like another storm came through.
Wow.
And the other storm, what it did was it flooded the lake. So like the whole park was underwater. And I talked to this guy and he was like, listen, like there's water everywhere. There's power lines down. And he's like, I can't let you have your event. Like, I know I told you that I would, but like I can't. So that morning I pretty much told everyone it was canceled. I canceled my event insurance, like all this other stuff. And then I started talking to Andy. And Andy was like, you know, I took the days off. I'm going to go skate anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll go skate with you too. So I ended up finding like another campsite. And then I was like, there were a few other people that were like, I still want to skate. Like, I'm not canceling my flight. Like, screw that. So I was like, all right, everyone's still down. So I found a private campsite like 2 days before, completely rearranged all the routes, like everything. Like 48 hours before the event, I created a home. And like to the point where actually the skate camp was canceled. And then I called the second event Titusville Contingency Group Ride because I had canceled my event insurance and I didn't want them to see that I was doing like another event.
Yeah.
So anyway, people rolled with it, right? So like a good example of that was like everyone still came out, right? Like at least, you know, we had like a good group of like 20. And the first day, you know, we get to the trail and the first day I'm running support, like in the support vehicle, right? And I'm at like the midpoint, which is called Maytown. Mm-hmm. Gavin pulls up first. He's like, hey man, like there's a big flood there. And like you can't get through. And I'm like, how'd you get through? And he's like I just walked through it. And I was like, all right. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, I hope everyone's gonna be this cool. And then like one by one, I see all these people like coming through, and like, you know, there was probably 200 yards of flooded trail.
Sure.
Where like you had to take shoes off, and there's like cool pictures of it where everyone's got their board like over their shoulder and like their shoes in one hand. And everyone's just like wading through this water. So anyway, like the trail was almost perfect except for that spot. But like I was really worried. I was like, where else is there going to be issues? But anyway,
wow.
Like we had the greatest group. Everyone rolled with it. Like it was not the event that I had planned, but like it almost turned out better than I had planned. So that's the first year. Let's go into kind of what's new for this year, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess last year was the first day was like a 5-mile ride to dinner. Everyone had a nice dinner at this spot, and then I took everyone home in the skate van. I rent like a 30-foot RV for this.
Oh, so really?
Shuttle. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's what you go. I'll see pictures. Like I was driving a bus with like 18 people geared up to go to the trail. It was like awesome.
That's it right there.
So anyway, first day, like did a 5-mile ride and everyone had dinner. Second day, I supported everyone. So it was like 50 something miles. And then there was actually some trail issues down the road. So like, I think most people the first day did like 45 to 50 or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Cool.
But then, so day 2 night, ordered big barbecue dinner, had a campfire, you know, everyone's kind of chilling at the campsite, you know, we're having a good time. Woke up Sunday morning. So Sunday is what I call self-supported Sunday. And then the trail actually goes in like a Y. So the first day everyone went west, and then the second day everyone goes north, and then comes back south, like on an out and back. So the second day I skated, and that was about 60 something miles. It rained like the second half, and I'd say like about like half the people finished because some people had to catch flights and stuff like that. But anyway, first year, which was all kind of chill group rides. What's going to be different for 2024? So this year we have a much, 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 much nicer campsite. So
Okay.
again, I had to kind of call an audible last minute, and I got a private campsite. They didn't really have like a great bathroom. We didn't have showers. I had to buy like pump showers for people to use.
Oh, that's kind of
Like
fun.
we were kind of roughing it.
Yeah, yeah, you
Like,
go.
it was, but again, everyone rolled with it. It was chill. This year, we're in a campsite called Manatee Hammocks Park. I actually just stayed there last weekend. Beautiful site right on the water. Great bathroom facilities, showers, all that stuff. The only kind of downside is we're about an hour from the where Maytown is, where the race is going to start. So we're a little further away. Like we're going to have to shuttle around a little bit more, but everyone's going to be much, much more comfortable. As far as campsites goes, like it's really nice, and it's connected with like really good paths too, so you can skate around inside it.
Perfect.
You can see the space center from basically the campsite. So like if there's something on the launch pad, like you'll definitely see it out there. It's nice. So campsite is going to be way improved, and that's if you can get at that site. Actually, let me preface this: like if you're trying to come to skate camp, contact me. If you can't find a site, like we'll find a way to accommodate you. But like I am realizing that the campsite is really popular, so it's like it's going to fill up. There's probably less than 5 campsites left right now. 10 sites.
For
That
that
doesn't mean you
for
can
that
an
day.
RV for those days, yeah. But there are other opportunity. There are other places to stay. Like we'll figure it out. Don't let that discourage you. But anyway, campsite's way nicer. The next kind of major change for this year is going to be the marathon race.
Mm-hmm.
So we touched on that a little earlier. I really realize that there's a huge hole with the events in America where we don't have a marathon race anymore. So I really wanted to provide that. And I happened to notice on this trail system where the midpoint is Maytown to this bridge I noticed was 13.1 miles, like on the dot. So I was like,
Perfect.
perfect marathon. Like you just go this bridge, you touch it, and you come back. I just did it last weekend twice. I'm gonna go out with the Jones counter. It's gonna be like official as hell.
Oh man, that's actually really neat.
Yeah, so like the route is perfect, and like I think we need that like for this like it really sucks that like someone like Adam Ornelas doesn't have an opportunity to like run a race. So like I wanted to give that opportunity to people to have that kind of marathon race. So the overall plan for skate camp like in the future,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to move locations. 2024 is going to be a whole new location that I'm scouting right now. There's a few front runners, like believe it or not, like Gulf Shore, Alabama is like one of the front runners.
Okay.
Yeah,
Back to
but
Alabama.
skate camp, yep, skate camp's gonna move, right? Because I can't bring people to the same location year after year after year after year. That's gonna get boring, right? But the Maytown Marathon, which is the marathon element, that's going to stay, and that's going to stay in Titusville every year
Very cool.
because that's like established, right? Like people know it's easy in, get out. I think strategically, like that's going to stay for a long time if I can help it, and I really hope that every year that event gets bigger.
It's a great
I
idea.
hope that gets. I hope that's the next Adrenalina, and I hope we can be a little bit creative and we get it as big as Adrenalina without $15,000 race purses. But like,
Yeah.
I want that to be kind of the premier marathon event in America. And then skate camp, I wanted to roam around because again, that's I really want that to be the kind of vacation skate trip kind of model.
Yeah.
More chill, not competitive, going to new places, getting a local flavor because like skating is a big part of it, but like I want to go visit the kind of the local brewery. I want to like, check out the dope barbecue spot. Like, there's more to these trips than just, spending 6, 8 hours on a trail,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And skate camp, like you're saying, you can do it anywhere. And that is encouraging for anyone out there who wants to do an event, like run a skate
Hell yeah.
camp, you know? Okay, so you mentioned day 2 is Maytown Marathon, and then day 3 is going to be the same as last year, self-supported Sunday.
Right. Self-supported Sundays. So that's like a 60-mile route to New Smyrna and back, and that's basically like one whole section of the trail. And I guess all the like I have a Facebook page. I don't have an actual website for this. Like all the information's on Facebook if you want to find it. I'm sure you can link it.
Mm-hmm. I'll link it.
Unless you're kind of not paying attention, like you've probably seen me post about it at this point. I try not to over promote my stuff and kind of respect people's feeds. So, like I'm not going to cram stuff down people's throat, but like, you should see kind of the announcements leading up. So if you want more information, like you should be able to find it.
Yeah. I like your philosophy here of just sort of setting things up and letting it unfold. It's kind of on everyone else who's going to the event and myself, right? Like to promote it for you, right? We're the community and like we need to blow it up so other people know how big of a deal it is, right? This is legit. This is like, you're taking this very seriously. You've already done it once. You really want to grow, especially the marathon, but even skate camps. Like, this is it. And even Gavin said, like, any event Scott Ziegler runs, you should go to. So you have a reputation for this already.
I listened to that article. I was blushing a little bit. Shout out to Gavin, like big time homie. But like, he's one of the people I do this for. He's got like more of a serious job than me. Like, so his vacation time is like, he has to be very strategic with it. That's like the biggest word of this podcast. I feel like I've used it like 10 times. He needs to be more careful with his vacation time. He can't be like as kind of flippant with his time and trips. So like,
sure.
To organize stuff for like people like him that can just say like, yes, I don't have to think about anything. I just have to hop in the car. That's part of it too. Like, it's like kind of the field of dreams kind of thing. Like, I just want to like build something cool. And like, I really think, if you do a good job, people will come.
All right. So tell us about some of the things people can do to successfully host some of their own events.
Okay. So I think that's a pretty good question because, I want to see more events, but I want to see them done the right way personally. And I guess I'll preface this by saying like, I'm not some event oracle. I don't have a massive amount of experience hosting skate events. Like I have done one good one and, a couple decent group rides, but I think more importantly, I've been to other people's events and, seen things that I think work and what don't work. And then also, I've done a lot of events professionally. That was part of my, marketing, real job is doing big event strategies for, beer companies, car companies, that type of stuff. So I think I have some barometer of, to speak, to this question. So I guess I got a couple things. So one thing that I've seen a few times recently within the last kind of 2 years with skate events in particularly is people announcing them really kind of late. And I don't understand exactly why, but, if you give people 2 months to plan for something, like, it's probably going to hurt in attendance. So I think my recommendation is like to get the event on the calendar, like as early as you possibly can. You don't have to have all the details sorted out. You don't need to have every sponsor agreement, but like just get a Facebook page up there so everyone knows it's out there. The basic info that, more or less like save the date. A great example of that is Ralph Mertz in Berlin. His event Flaming Runda. He just announced it like 11 months in advance, and he does that every year. So like, you don't have any conflicts and people have time to see that on the horizon. And it's also like a good stake in the ground for you to, start keeping you on a timeline as well. So getting it announced and schedule is early is definitely a big one.
I think, and I do want to, I like that point. I like that you brought that up because I didn't know that about Flaming Runda. And that's really impressive. 11 months. It sounds like the event finished and then they just went ahead and planned the next one, which I think is what Carlos was kind of doing with La Diga.
Right. Especially if it's a yearly event, like just get it out there. Another great example, Pierre, the UK Ultra Skate. I mean, he finished his event. He took a nice long nap. He was kind of like dormant for a week or two, but then, posted a big announcement, that he's already planning the next one.
Nice.
The date's forthcoming, but it's probably going to be in this month. So like, while you have that momentum and people are kind of amped, like, take advantage of that. And, on the other end of that is if you're a new event, like, announce it now for next year or something like that. Like plan that far ahead. I think that's only going to help. And I guess one more little caveat is, and one thing I've seen the last 2 years, don't hold up your flyer don't hold up your event announcement because of a flyer design. I don't know why I've seen this 3 times where people are like, yeah, I'm trying to get it out, but the flyer, and it's just like, just get it out.
Yeah.
Worry about the details later. They'll all sort themselves out. So that's a recommendation. Another big one for picking your date really carefully. And there's kind of 2 prongs to that. One is radius and one is timing. So radius is a big thing in music events. Like if you're a big DJ or something like that and you get booked in Miami, there's probably a clause in that contract that says you can't play within that city, within 400 miles of that city, in this type of venue, in this duration of time span. And they do that so they don't cannibalize their events. So
quick question for you. The term radius, for maybe people who might not follow as much, is just a way to say your event, how it conflicts with other events based on time and distance, right?
Correct. So so the way that might play out in our world is you're in a state, and the state has maybe 4 legacy events a year. 2 of them are within 30 days of each other. It's probably not a good idea to announce your new event, the following weekend, because you're making people make choices. Not everyone has unlimited resources. They got to take time off of work. They're spending, $100, $150 in gas money, just to get there. So, it's good for the other events, but it's also good for your event. Like you're probably shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you're not respecting radius. And I guess the other thing as far as date and timing is play your geographic region. So for example, you don't see me doing many events or I won't be doing any events in Florida during the summer because it's just, not the greatest time to do it. However, you up in Maine, you should definitely be doing an event because I'm sweating my ass off and I want to get the hell out of my state and I'm looking for an opportunity to skate somewhere awesome. So, if you just apply some just basic kind of strategy to your schedule and how it's playing with other events on the calendar, I really think that's kind of another way to set yourself up for success for sure.
Nice.
So another thing is attend other events. Again, that's really a great way to learn and also make relationships with people that go to these types of things. A lot of this, at least in my experience and with my own personal event, it's I'm getting some people from Facebook posts and stuff like that, but it's really personal relationships. And, I've been out to other events. People have seen me on the track. People have seen me, skated next to me, sweated next to me. So when I come up with something, I have these people I can go out to and I guess there's some kind of credibility there. So I would really recommend, attending other events. But then another thing I see sometimes, like, think about your personal credibility. So like, maybe some of the things that are going on in your personal social media, think about if you're someone that might be booking a flight, spending hundreds of dollars to go to an event using vacation time. They might want to see that you're kind of buttoned up, and it might make them feel a little bit like it's a little bit less of a risk. Taking a flight, taking vacation time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's a great point. Like, credibility can come in a lot of ways. It also would be like, how well is the information for your event conveyed to the people?
Absolutely.
Like, is it just a wall of text somewhere on the internet, or do you have a website? Like, do you have a video? Do you have this, that? Something you mentioned, UK Ultra Skate. They did pretty well. They have some good footage out there. I'm really excited for next year. Sounds like they're planning it. Like, they're building credibility, right? It's a new event, and they've already made an impact. So I think, or made an impression rather.
Sure.
So credibility is great.
And that credibility came. So, I mean, that's another part of it that I didn't really discuss is like your every event you have is like, you're getting a scorecard. Like, I'm certainly hearing about it. So like if you show up late to your own event or don't point out some safety things, like, that might affect someone's decision to going to one of your next events. So like, again, like you said, UK Ultra Skate, like first year event, like a lot of risk to go to something like that, right? But to their credit, it sounds like they really executed a good event, and like the feedback from that was great. So like, that's a great example of like getting it done right the first time, and when you do it the second time and third time and fourth time, it's only going to get bigger.
Very cool. And attending other events is nice. It's also about being a member of the community, right?
Sure. And I think I mentioned this kind of earlier, like, all this stuff, I didn't know any of this was possible. I didn't think you can get people out to a trail in the middle of nowhere. But like, I kind of took a couple pages from Callie Little's book, and, a lot of what I've kind of picked apart and kind of figured out, at least how to apply to my own events. A lot of those kind of seeds got kind of germinated there, if you will, in those events that weren't mine.
Shout out to Callie.
Yeah, she's back. She's skating not across, I'd say down the country. So.
Yeah, she's in Maine right now. I'm going to skate with her. When she comes through.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Great. So I want to talk about promotion a little bit. We're still in a really small scene. So like me personally, like I really try to respect people's feeds. And what that means is like, when I do make a communication, it's like, thought out, and, each time you post, you kind of lose attention for another one. You know what I mean? So it's like you have a few chances to get everyone's attention, and then like everyone else, every kind of additional one kind of gets diminishing returns. So like, unless you're adding new information or doing stuff like just the repetitive posts of like Facebook in particular, I think you kind of start to lose people if you're not conscious of that. Like,
yeah, I'm thinking more of like the Instagram social media revolution that's happening, right? With like everyone's trying to break the algorithm, and like that's kind of infiltrating every community, right? Where it's like, should I be posting more so that I get my content out more? But again, what you're saying is like, maybe just respect the feed, and that's better in the end.
Sure. And I'll add my own kind of personal experience here. There's no shortcuts. Like you're really not going to break some algorithm. The best thing recommendation I can make is quality over quantity, and a bit of an overlap as far as like the social media promotion is. And another thing is the way sponsors come in. First and foremost, I don't think you need sponsors to host a good event. Another place where I think these event hosts should be kind of conscious is like taking on sponsors, and then like, the same generic, this sponsor, this, and, you have a Facebook page with like, I would encourage more creative ways of integrating sponsorships. Think of like how to make the content cool. Think about how to integrate products. Don't collect logos on your flyers, like just because look for meaningful sponsors that like kind of are on brand for your event. I think some of the actual skate brands, first of all, they don't want to be crowded on a flyer. And, I think quality over quantity is kind of a good theme here. So, watch out with the social posts, and then, watch out with who you're bringing into your event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a really interesting point. Like, if you have an event with a ton of sponsors, right, that just say it just happens, what's the best way to give them the bang for their buck? Like you said, throwing them on a flyer only does so much. Like, what is the better option if you don't want to throw up a ton of posts, like individual posts, right? Like, I think you're right. You just have to be creative with it.
So my recommendation there is, it's the content level. A ton of posts announcing them as sponsors with a logo, like, not so cool. Maybe post showing their product out on the trail or where the venue is, is a more meaningful way to do that post.
That's a great idea.
You can only do that post 3 or 4 times before it gets boring. So like maybe you don't have 8 or 9 sponsors. Again, my common theme here is quality over quantity. Sometimes less is more.
That's a great idea you have there. You could even combine multiple sponsors in one like video where it's like maybe you don't review the products, but you kind of showcase like a setup that has a few different products on it.
Sure. And like, there are brands in our universe that like clearly work together, like Loaded and Pantheon.
Like Riptide just makes bushings. They need the other parts too, right?
Exactly. So, but on that point, there are definitely brands that do not want to live together in the same video. So I would be, conscious of that. But like, there's always the prize pools and there's always, scavenger hunt type stuff. But like from the brand perspective, I think what the brand wants most is content out of it. And that's been my experience in working for so many different types of brands, not just skate brands. Like I think part of the reason sponsorships happen is, you want to get at an audience, but you always want the content output out, especially in 2024. Give them some badass content and they'll be back next year.
Right. And I think this is a great point. I know we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but the idea of products being at an event, like we're thinking of this from what does the brand want, right? And that's great. It's definitely relevant and important. But also, like, what do the participants want? Like, a lot of the people going there aren't going to win first, second, third, right? That's statistically speaking, that's the way it works. So, like, having something like a raffle, scavenger hunt, or something like that is really appealing. And it's fun. It is a great thing to have in an event. But like you're saying, it doesn't do much for the brand necessarily unless you make some sort of content out of it.
Give them something to post later.
Yeah.
The person that gets the stuff puts up a review. Like they're looking for that long tail.
Exactly.
And me personally, one of the things that I want from a product perspective at an event, like it's not so much like I want to like win something and take something home. I want to try a bunch of shit. Like I try like these new before I have to. So like a really good example of someone hitting the trial at events hard is Don Sandusky at Handboards or Subskate. So like the last few ultras, he's out there. He's got like a cool van that he travels around to different events. And like when he pulls up to events, he pulls out a bunch of giant boards and poles and like at Ultra, we didn't do it last year because we didn't have the lights on, but like those the sprint races. So like, that's a good example of a meaningful way of getting your product in there where, it's good for the brand, good for the participants, add something fun. So like more of that stuff's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a few other basic things like route research and like knowing your route. So like, I'm not going to take anyone. That's not true. I did do like one group ride in Tampa Sarasota area where I didn't know the trail. But like generally any place I'm hosting anything, I've done the trail a couple times. I know every safety hazard. I know where to point out stuff. And like, I guess as an event host, it's kind of your responsibility to know all that. If you're inviting people out for whatever, I mean, you're the ringleader, you're the camp counselor. And like, you got to point out that there's a hill here, there's a crossing. And like a good way to get all that out of the way is to have your information before the ride very clear. So like route maps, being clear about difficulty levels, so on and so forth. Yeah, I like to start, every ride with a little bit of a safety meeting. I even did like a big virtual one last year before skate camp, and like, just get everyone on the same page. Like, make sure they know not to touch the snake on the side of the trail. Like some of the really basic stuff. Like there could be wildlife out there. There could be in Florida, you never know what kind of people you're going to get. There could be some, crazy NRA nut out
Make
there.
Some new friends. Yeah.
Actually, another big one on trails, actually, especially like in the South, like a lot of these trails run up against people's property lines. So like, you can easily be on someone's property if you got your head up your ass, and someone might not like that very much. Yeah. So, route research, knowing your route, and, stressing safety is kind of very important. So, another thing, aside from the route research, like I make it very clear that I want everyone wearing helmets. It's kind of a big major thing with me. I witnessed a very bad head injury about 15 years ago. I hit my head a couple times in the last 24 months, it just happens. And I don't want to be the event organizer where someone split their head open at my event. Like it's going to make it really hard to do something again. Going back to that credibility issue, even if it's not my fault, it's always going to be the event that someone split their head open. So stressing safety, kind of big thing with me. And, helmets, the bare minimum. I think if you're in a hilly area, like I don't ride with gloves often, but like Ladiga the whole time wearing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you just might take one. So like to just lay all that out there for people to know. At the end of the day, they're going to make their own choices. You can't hold a gun to someone's head and like tell them to wear a helmet. You can, tell them not to come, but then also it's like it's a public trail. You can't really, so anyway, I just try to make it known how much I stress safety. And then I actually like to share stories, where I happened to see this 15 years ago. Like, and again, I have a close friend who, like, he goes to bed every night and he has tinnitus in his ear ringing from falling on a bike without a helmet, and he lives with it. So that stuff happens. Stress safety, be like an advocate for that.
I think, those two things, right? The route research, safety, right?
Yep.
They go so far. Not only are you, if you have these sort of virtual meetings or all this information online, it gives your participants a sense of security, and it also it makes them more invested in the event, right? If they go to your virtual meeting and they're new, now they know people in the community. Now they're maybe more excited than they were before, less shy, less, deterred from going. And then even if it rains that day, they might still show up. Whereas maybe if it rained, they wouldn't, right? So like all of these things are just incrementally helping you with the overall goal here that Scott's trying to tell us is credibility and, building your event, making it successul, right?
Right. Again, these are Scott's tips for a successful event.
Love it. Love it.
So, all right. So another thing is, making your events more attractive. And we touched on this kind of earlier, but making your events more attractive to kind of different skill levels and different types of skaters. So, my events, again, as an example, I try to plan the routes that are, 20 miles at a time, or there's a 5-mile route the day before, where there's kind of like different flavors, different levels of extreme, if you will. Mm-hmm. Where I go up all the way up to like, if you want to go push 80 miles in one day, like, for the Gavins and the people like brother and you, and not so much me these days, but
that's a Gavin distance for sure. 80 miles.
Yeah. Having, especially people are going to travel. Like some of them want to put some miles on, and then like as an event host, you're always trying to get people new into the funnel, right? I'm talking like a marketing guy, but like you always want people. We're always trying to get new people into the funnel, and like generally when people get their first taste of this, like they're coming back for more. So sometimes it's like creating a little bit of an easier route, maybe one day. You don't have to change your whole event, but like, think about a beginner that might be 50 miles away that might want to do their first skate event, but they're a little nervous, Mm-hmm. So another thing, as far as like just appeal, one thing is to kind of remember, like, it's not all about skating. We're in a kind of isolated sport a little bit. So like the opportunities to socialize are kind of few and far between. So like, if you're hosting a 1-day race where everyone's out on the track all day, we're missing an opportunity there for like people to congregate after, or so I guess just like think about like, the socialization aspect, and then also think about like maybe some other activities that are kind of local to your area. So like, maybe there's a cool brewery to have like an award ceremony. Like your event is in Texas, so like maybe people want to get some awesome barbecue or something like that. So like, maybe think about, at least from like, if you're looking for people to travel, maybe think of like, what the local tourism board does a little bit,
sure.
And also think about, make it easy for people to find places to stay, like call the local hotel, like maybe try to get a route, trying to make it appealing and also like at the same time, like kind of convenient and a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I love that, like adding a second element to the event, which we've kind of talked about this a little bit throughout the cast, where it's like Ultra Skate is this huge event, La Diga, huge event, not a lot of time to socialize. Whereas if there were more events that were smaller and had this second focus on, after this, we're going to go to the beach, or whatever. After this, we're going to go hang out here and do a little after party, right? Like, it's cool.
And a lot of that's actually dependent on your course. Like I'm really pushing for like marathon type distances, because you can wrap that up in like, 2 hours and then like do something. I mean, you can even do a sprint race. Like, actually, I'd love to see some multi-formats. I have this idea. Hopefully I can execute it in the next like year or so. But I'd love like a marathon, sprint, and then like a, paddle skate pole race.
Oh, cool.
And like you can almost compete in it like a little like Olympics, and you can do all three in one day, or you can just do like one and like sit and chill and something like that can be done in 3.5, 4 hours, and then like have a fun award ceremony, barbecue, that type of thing. So like I think that could be a good kind of format if anyone's listening for ideas.
I had this really fun idea once I called it the skate tathlon. Yeah. And it was like back when, it's sliding and downhill is still big, but there were a lot more events that were like hybrid events where kind of like you said, and, you'd have a slide jam, then you'd have maybe a downhill race, maybe a game of skate, right? Street skateboarding, and then like a push race, right? Like, and I thought that would be really cool if you could enter all of them and like rack up points throughout the weekend and have a little series out of it. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's always easy to add a push race to all sorts of things. Like I'd love to see to what you're saying. I'd love to see more, insertions, if you will, like into like I really think dance events and LDP, like a push race, can live together and like be like a cool co-promoted thing. So yeah. So that all goes to just, I guess if you're gonna put a title on this bullet, it's gonna be broadening your appeal.
Nice.
So, talked about a lot of things, but like one thing, like if you're thinking about starting an event and like you're really serious about it, my recommendation would be to kind of plan and think in a 3-year arc at least. First year events are always going to be tough.
Yeah.
Like they're kick your ass, and like unless like all the stars align, like you might not want to do it again, but like the first year, you got to get out of the way. You got to get the ball rolling. And then, like, if you do your job right, the second year is going to be easier. and then like the third year is going to be rocking. So like another good example, like again, I think Pierre UK Ultra Skate, like I don't think that's going anywhere just from the kind of level of organization, and like this guy's kind of checking the box.
Yeah.
And so think over 3 years. Don't think you're going to be successful right out of the gate, and then like you're kind of always going to improve a little bit. So, and then like again, I guess we'll go back full circle. Like every time you're creating more credibility, every time you're learning stuff from the one before, every time you're getting more people on board, every kind of rotation gets a little bit bigger. So think a little longer term if you can.
Mm-hmm. I think also like sharing your idea with people, right, is kind of along those same lines, where it's like it might be a year out or whatever, but talk to people about it, like especially locally in the area. You never know who would offer their help. Like, yeah, I'm trying to run an event next year. I should announce it. Like you're saying, I should already be getting this out there, and I'm talking to people about it, but I need to make an announcement. And I talked to my massage therapist, and she's like, oh, I would love to go there, and I'll have my friends come. We'll set up booths. And I was like, oh, really? Like, you want to do that? So like, you never know. Just talk to people about it. You never know who's going to offer their help. You never know what kind of ideas you'll get, and it just can't hurt, right?
By the way, that's a great way to bring a sponsor in. Bring in a massage therapy sponsor that will actually give massages. Yeah. Like that's a product integration if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, like, so to wrap this up, right? Like, you have all these ducks in a row. I mean, even if you don't, again, like, you take this with a grain of salt. Again, I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about at all.
That's not true, but yeah.
But if you have all these kind of things together and you would like to get a little extra support, you can contact us at Skate IDSA. And we do give event support. So there's kind of two levels of event support. One is like a simple event approval. Mm-hmm. And what this means is, we'll approve your event. You can use IDSA logos in the promotion. We'll add it to our calendar. We'll give it social media promotional support, post here or there. So that's available to you as an event host to get a little kind of extra awareness. But like to get that, like it's pretty simple. Just we do require like a 1-pager kind of submission with all the relevant details. So
sure,
that this means your date, your course map, basic description. Maybe include a little safety section. Just so we know that everything's up to par. And this has to be written out. No messages on Facebook. No voice notes. We need a clear, concise document.
Voice notes.
Next is event sanctioning. So this is a little bit more involved because this means that your event will actually be included in our point system. So point system just kind of got back on track in Europe. They did 6 events this year. Marathon distances, Flaming Rundo is in there. UK Ultra Skate. So like, nice little, diverse kind of package of events. In 2024, we're going to be following suit in the United States. We're just kind of, finishing up a few things there kind of before we announce that. But for sanctioning, same things required where you got to communicate with us, put in an event plan with, a 1-pager. And then, another thing, we're going to look at your event a little bit deeper in regards to certain things like measurement. I think we talked about that a little bit also, but, we owe it to the athletes that are coming out to these events that are doing things like potentially breaking world records to have things official. So the course measurement protocol is going to be big in event sanctioning in 2024, where, we're going to, have courses measured, look at timing systems a little bit more in depth. And, that's what event sanctioning is. And the sanctioning, again, is just a little bit more strict, still, available to anyone, but, we're going to take a little bit harder look at, your course and that type of thing. So, So yeah, like event hosts, get in touch with us. I mean, you can also get in touch with us at the idea phase, where we're happy to be used as like a sounding board. But like again, try to have the concise summary, one pager of like what you're trying to do, and that can help us help you.
Yeah, it helps to be prepared, right? It's just a matter of when you're going to request someone's help, make sure you have information that's like easily digestible and like retrievable, right? You're saying like no voice notes. We want something somewhat tangible, like a one-page document that explains everything.
Yeah. Just, spend half an hour putting your thoughts on a piece of paper, and that way I can spend a lot less time trying to figure out what you're trying to do.
Yeah. You don't need perfect grammar.
No. Okay. But that's actually a really good segue, into help. So
yeah, I guess how can people, if they're interested in helping the IDSA in any way, maybe they have some spare time. Are there like, levels to this? What can you offer them?
So looking for help on a few different levels. So this year kind of ended up taking on a bunch of things, but really this year want to find more ways to get more people involved to continue to really help improve the quality of what we're providing to members, like on our experience level. There's only so much that like a couple people can do from the United States, only so much that one dude can do from Miami. So like there's actually going to be a few invitations extended very soon to board members. That would be in Asia and Europe, and maybe one more in the United States. So like, that's more like an invite kind of situation where, we're very familiar with you. You've probably been a member for a few years. We've met you at events. We've worked with you with some capacity, and we know that kind of the mission's aligned. But are looking for kind of volunteers to help, with other kind of areas, particularly the virtual events for next year. So like if you, really want to help somewhere and get involved and, potentially become a board member someday, like I think the best place to get started would be to help with the virtual event kind of execution. So, I think I made it seem a lot more stressful than it is, but it's stressful because it's like it takes a team to do it. With a little bit more personnel, like 3 or 4 people, like I think it's going to run like clockwork. A lot of the stress is going to be taken out of it. So if anyone wants to volunteer, there will be kind of a submission kind of process that I'll make available soon, where would love like 3 or 4 people to help with review team next year. So it is kind of more like a team, and we get things out faster. And because virtual events aren't going anywhere, they're really engaging. It's been kind of great for everyone, and it takes a lot to execute them. And a few initiatives definitely took a back seat in the last few months to. Because a lot of my time resources had to go into these things. So things will keep a lot more momentum if just get a few more people to help there. So,
and that's like just looking at people's submissions and double checking them, making sure they're legit kind of thing.
Right. Answering questions quickly. There is the actual review. A couple hundred or at least 100 plus submissions come in for each of these stages. Right, 100, 150. And a lot of them come kind of right at the end of the deadline. So, to get them out quickly, like I kind of set my schedule around because I know that they're coming and stuff like that. But like, if there was just a few more people checking them, great. But then also like a ton of questions come in. Like, and then like one of the things that really kind of burnt me out was like, I set up an email address, like put it out, and then like I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be a message on my personal Facebook, my personal Instagram, IDSA's Facebook, IDSA's Instagram, and then there would be a question on the contact form. Like all that, like, and so I think that'll work itself out where I was really trying to stick that point because like, that address, that's like the quick customer service address. You can't just call Delta. Like you have to call the Delta person that fixes things for you. So like, right now it's one person fixing everything, but like the vision is to have more of a team. So please help out there.
Yeah, use the IDSA email when contacting.
Correct, and become part of a review team. It will be a very rewarding experience, I promise. Through all this stress of Latour to Longboard, I mean, there's been. I'm not going to spill the beans because they're going to come out in the broadcast, but like, there's some really cool stories where it's like, that's why we do this. So you will find it fulfilling, I promise.
Awesome.
And actually, fulfillment is a great segue. So I actually do think I got some help in Europe for fulfillment. So that's going to be awesome.
And what does that mean exactly?
So that's all the member gifts and stuff like that. So, for example, like, our hats cost a certain amount. Our hats cost almost as much to ship to Europe as they do to produce. So like, from we want to be profitable, right? But not like profitable like we're like taking people's money out of their pocket. We want some money left over from all the activities we do to invest into more activities to make more activities. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
One of the things that we've just been getting our ass kicked on is shipping. So the plan is for this year is to have everything produced before Ultra Skate, so some people can bring it back to Europe, like a nice suitcase full of the stuff. Our shipping costs will go down like to 30%. That's certainly some help. I'll probably continue doing the sticker packs because I actually find them. I find it relaxing. So like, I don't know if anyone's gotten a red sticker pack envelope, but like I've personally packed every single one of those.
That's awesome.
And like after a long day of dealing with clients, like it's kind of fun. It's kind of like I used to build Legos. Like it's just like mindless and like 3 stickers on it, an envelope, stamp, and so anyway, that's the fulfillment end, and I think we're pretty good on that. So
sounds like you have a system for this.
Oh yeah, a super system.
Cool.
Yeah. What else? So we're actually, man, a week ago we were looking for them, but I think we found them. So actually a big initiative for next year is actually bringing back some pump track racing. Ooh. So I don't do that, if you know me. I'm kind of a little risk adverse, and I'm not at the level where I'm riding pump tracks. So we need someone to kind of execute on that end. So I think we found the person. I'm not going to announce who it is yet, but that's an area where we're looking for help. But I think we got it.
Pump tracks are really fun. They're appearing. There's more of them than there were years before. So I can imagine.
Absolutely. And so for example, like Jonah and I are going to a conference next week where it's all like city visitor and convention board, or like tourism boards,
sure,
and event hosts. And the whole premise of the conference is to get these event hosts in these cities so they can make event babies. We don't always have something to talk about with people on the long distance end, meaning cities. Like not every city has a big trail system or something like that. So in talking to the cities, we realize that we need kind of more flavors, if you will. A lot, like you said, a lot of cities have pump tracks now. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of another way we can start working with these areas and start getting presence in places where we weren't before. So speaking of that, so another area, I wouldn't say this isn't where I'm looking for help, but I'm looking to start discussions with people. Anyone that runs a college campus club related to skateboarding, or people that are interested in starting one. We're rolling out some things for spring. We already have some pilot clubs on board. Really excited about that. But like one end of it is going to be helping these established college clubs, but then the other end is going to be helping people that want to start these clubs. college clubs have like so many resources that I didn't know about. Like I just sat on my ass in college, but like you got this, like I might have, done some cooler stuff, but like there's all this grant money that clubs can unlock to travel and go visit other schools to compete. So, that's an area where we're definitely going to, and we need some help on the ground. And then I guess a few more areas, just content in general. Like if there were a few good members that wanted to contribute some content, like that would be awesome. Like maybe you're another marketer like me, like you have journalism experience and some extra time. Would love some people that wanted to, help with somewhat of a content schedule. And then,
is that sort of something like you have these articles about products, right? Would it be like if someone wanted to write articles about like event coverage or something like that, would that also fly?
Yeah, exactly. Like event coverage would be, fantastic. So like, for example, like I'd love to do more with event recaps. We've done a couple, but like more in depth from like people that were actually there. And obviously, one person can't travel to all of them. So like, yeah. And then even like just, highlighting like local, like skate routes. Like if we can come up with some sort of a formula where it's like, one of the things I've done throughout my whole career, especially with content, is if you just come up with a theme and it's repeatable, like it just gets super, super easy. So like you call it something like, our trail of the month or something like that, and then like people can just submit their trail of the month. And then like, it could just be like a Google form where it's like, tell us why, tell us this, add like 6 or 7 pictures. And then like, we're getting these kind of nice pieces of content, like showing people where they might want to like find an awesome route.
That's a great idea. Trail of the month. You would build such a nice database of skatable trails too, even the ones that don't make the cut. It's like,
and there's so much stuff I want to do with like database stuff. Like I want to get like a local like group ride kind of thing. Like there's so much with content that would love to get done, and some extra like I want like 3 or 4 ideas like we were just talking about, and then like maybe 3 or 4 volunteers I want to help with that stuff. So like get at me if that's your thing.
Yeah, there's plenty of ideas out here. Like if you're the type of person who maybe just feels like they want to take action and needs an idea, Scott's got ideas for you.
That's what I do. So just another area where I actually do currently have a design intern. Shout out to Simon Sneer.
That's cool.
He's awesome. He's been creating kind of like sticker packs for next year. Like I have him working on a big RFP, which is like a document that we're submitting to all these cities that we meet at this conference next week. So like, that's been another fulfilling thing, like getting to give kind of a young person some, fun experience. So, if you're like a, someone maybe like you're a journalism student or you do video, maybe like social media is your thing, might be an opportunity to have like one more intern. So that could be a possibility.
Nice.
Another place we need help. And then I guess the last kind of area, and this is the one that everyone can do. You don't have to be involved with us. You don't even have to like us. You can just be into skateboarding and just do your part to organize on a local level. Again, there's only so much that like one dude in Miami can do. There's only so much that like a few board members around the world can do. Seeing some awesome stuff start to happen on a local level, like the social push chapters are like a really great example. So like shout out to Lake in New York, Corey out in Ohio, and then Earl in like the Philly area. Like all that stuff is like to some level like more important than what we're doing. So
absolutely,
get your local areas moving and talk to us, and we'll do something.
Yeah, the social push, they do really well with the amount of people they get to come out. And I remember talking to Titus about this once, and he's like, every city could do a social push. And at the time, I was like, I don't know, Portland, Maine's kind of like, but you could definitely do it. Like, um, you know, you just got to start. It's the only way to really get it going and like know the appeal of your thing. And it might not be like you might pick a city and it might end up being the whole state, just because of how small the population
Sure.
is, right?
I mean, yeah, like an area like yours, perhaps. But yeah, I'd say that works kind of better on, kind of when you're in an urban environment, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just the idea is like, doing like a monthly group, like, I mean, that's an easy way to start. Like, start there. Like, just figure out who's in your city. And I gotta say, that's something I feel a little hypocritical because like I'm doing all these other things, but like I haven't done much to help anything kind of here in Miami. And like, I might listen to this later and, start thinking about some ways that I can contribute locally because it's super important.
Yeah. Yeah. You've only got so much time, right? But
That's it.
you're doing all this stuff with the IDSA it's hard to make time for everything. So I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about it.
No. But, I think part of what I'm trying to do is trying to be a good example. So especially with, events and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I guess my 13th point on all those bullets is don't forget about local stuff.
Yeah. Don't forget the locals. You have brand spotlights, right? On the IDSA.org. There's a ton of them, or there's a handful of them at least. One on BOA wheels. There's a Loaded one. Jeff's is the latest one with Karma.
Yes. Oh man, Jeff's is awesome. He spent a lot of time and thought into his, and I was really happy to give him a platform to talk about some things that's going on with this company. But like, the brand spotlights actually came out of the brand membership program. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but we actually have a brand tier membership. And if you look on the IDSA website, we have a brand partners section. And so that actually came about from one of the brands that wanted to get involved more with the IDSA. They wanted to get involved in some ultra skate rules and some other stuff. And we were like, hey, like, we love that you want to get more involved, but if we're going to do this, we have to actually let all the other brands get involved too. So the answer to that, which was, a very simple brand membership program. So, they all pay membership dues. It comes out to about maybe 10 memberships or something like that. And for that, they get a few things. The main thing is they get actually free memberships. So any of the brand partners, they have their own dedicated landing page where anyone that is a new member of IDSA can get a basic membership for the first year for free.
Oh, nice.
That's been driving a lot of our growth this year, which has been awesome. We went from about 150 members last year to we're over 550 now.
Wow.
And a good portion of that is from Singapore, Asia, Taiwan, China, but then also this brand membership program is really driving a lot of it. So, for example, Loaded, like I sent them cards with QR codes. Every Loaded order goes out with an IDSA card, which was like one of my better achievements.
That's incredible. So whenever you order a product from Loaded, now there's a, hey, check out the IDSA link, basically. QR code.
It has a QR code, go straight to their page, sign up, and we're getting members from all over the world from that. Like we got members in Puerto Rico now, Panama, Israel, United Arab Emirates, where else? Just about everywhere in Europe. I can't think of a European country except Iceland that we're not in. Georgia, the country. I mean, like it's kind of going everywhere, and it's super cool. So, like, I'll see how successful it is kind of next year because the success metric will be how many of the free memberships actually turn into kind of paid members at the end of the year. But I mean, it's been great for awareness for us, and it's been a great way to give something of value to the brands that they can give to their customers. Other parts of the brand membership program, we're actually doing a couple of roundtable meetings a year where we're actually getting everyone on the phone to talk about what the IDSA is doing, what we can do, things that are important to them. So that's super cool, just to get them all on the phone.
Yeah.
That really hasn't been done before. But another thing that we throw in there, and that's me as the marketing guy, is everyone gets their own dedicated promotional month. And what comes with that is those spotlight features. So the way they generally work is I create some interview questions. They get back to me. I try to make it pretty with videos and pictures. And then whatever they kind of got new coming down the pipe, we try to add a kind of promo giveaway. So that's kind of been, where the brand spotlights came from. And I mean, man, it's been fun putting those out. Like like all of them, Don Tashman, Jeff, Dan from Seismic, Jeremy from BOA, and Kevin Mock from Thane Life. I think that's all we've done to now. Like, all put a lot of time into their answers, and I tried to put equal amount of energy into their pieces. So I hope they're happy with it.
Yeah, they're very well done. And I was checking them out earlier, like going over them again, and I was like, damn, I wish like we all read more, that's like the thing, we need to get back to doing. And my partner might be listening to this and she'll be like, you don't read, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the last person who should be preaching about this, but like, yeah, it's an awesome way to get information and to absorb it. And the way you've done it is easy to read. It's easy to digest. And it's actually the best way to, to get that information is to take your time with it rather than, having someone feed it to you. Really just absorb it and learn a thing or two.
Well, and to be frank, I mean, that whole format is just to make it as easy as possible for me.
Sure.
Like I am like, I do know how to edit. I do know video editing and like, but like, this is as easy as me as I just send a list of questions. Like the brand partners put a lot more time into what they give to me than like, it's again, it's high value, but like low resource, like time investment for me. Like I put those things up in like an hour. And
right.
Like, and I mean, I think they're pretty good too. I appreciate that you like them too. I think, I think a lot of other people are enjoying the stories out there because like no one's really making the content. So, that was another hole that I definitely wanted to fill at the beginning of this. Like I made the website and I was like, all right, now what the hell goes on the website? Let's come up with some easy, repeatable content formats. And this is one of them. The other one is the interviews with the event hosts. I'm sure you read the one with Carlos from La Diga, to Ralph Mertz. I actually just sent questions to John Fisher today in Texas. He's got that rock race that I'm really trying. I think the community needs to support more. Been running 10 years, believe it or not. A good, not only is, the spotlight's a good word, right? Like, yeah, we shine the spotlight on the brand partners, but we're trying to shine the spotlight on like other people doing like cool shit in the community, people doing events. So like, the kind of interview format's going to stay because it's easy for me and it produces some good stories pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that's a great format. Like videos are tough. Right. Even with this podcast, I like to put a video for the YouTube, and I've been realizing like I really can't put that much energy into it. I have to just do like a slideshow for the YouTube because it's all, what I'm trying to deliver here is the audio and the conversation. I can't really focus on all that right now. Maybe eventually, right? Slowly branch out. Like I'm sure you're thinking like, I'm not just going to do interviews only, right? There's potential for other stuff. You have like, event interviews are a little different, but there's a lot of room there for content creation. But the system you have is perfect for just getting that exponential growth. And it's permanent, right? The articles are always there. You can always go back to them and scan them for the information you might need. So really good resource.
I really enjoy doing them. Of all the kind of duties, like it's one of the things I enjoy the most is some of the content that I've gotten to make. What else? There's one more thing I want to bring up that's kind of IDSA related and something that's going to be probably out by the time this comes out. We are bringing back the USA point system.
Ooh.
And similar to what Europe's done, like, we had a break with events because of the COVID, but like things are back. So I need to just talk to some of the event directors, but we have Ultra, we have Ladiga, we're going to have my marathon. There's a couple of other things that are starting to bubble up. And like, I think we're going to have at least a 4 race series that you can participate in 2024. So,
hey, there's going to be a 5K, 10K up here in Maine. Some guy's going to be throwing. I don't know who this crazy dude is, but he'll be reaching out to you soon.
That sounds promising. Man, I haven't been up to Maine since I was a kid, so I'd love for an excuse to get up.
Yeah, dude. We, my parents are on the case. They're local. They know a lot of the local authorities here. So I'm in the works of trying to put together an event for the fall 2024. Early fall in Maine is actually really nice and quiet. It's really busy in the summer. So yeah, that's the plan. And that I'm hoping to get that one on your series there. Yeah.
Perfect. So like if anyone's listening, there's approach us with your ideas. We want to help, but we want you to be organized, please.
Yeah. It's important to make the distinction between what you are, what the IDSA is. It's not an event planning company. It is an association that will help govern your skateboard event. It's not going to plan it for you, right? Is that the idea?
Well, sure. Well, I think that's a good kind of audio snippet for you to have, actually, is like, at least in my perspective, what the IDSA is and what it's for, right? And so there's a few different prongs, right? And the main or one of the main prongs is the structure, right? So that's the rules, the safety protocol, the event formats, and like that kind of gets rounded out into like what sanctioning is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other part of what the IDSA does is engages and builds the sport, right? So like all the La Tour de Longboard stuff, all what we're doing with the brand sponsorship programs, the content, that's all just like feeding the machine. But like, the rules and the governance is like kind of the main part of the machinery, right?
Sure.
Because like it's there does need to be some structure for people's safety, for people to have a legitimate, credible, competitive framework. So like, that's kind of the two kind of spheres, if, from my perspective.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're throwing an event, don't be discouraged. Just be prepared.
Yeah.
So you did mention one of the questions I like to ask people before they leave is, where will we see you next? And you said you're trying to get to John Fisher's Rock Around the Rock event in Texas, Dallas, right? Is it Dallas?
Yeah. Yes, that's the Dallas area. Let me get the date. Yeah, it's October 28th. And man, I don't know. So I'm going to Europe and actually North Africa, to Tunisia,
Nice.
the 6th through the 22nd. His event's the 28th. It's going to be really tough. I really want to try to do it. We'll see. I'll probably be in terrible shape and I'll be slow shit, but I am going to try to make that one because it's one that I haven't been to, and I really want to support John Fisher and get some more awareness on that event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to be in Ultra Skate for my 5th year. I've been getting a little bit more involved with the marketing and helping them out with some assorted things. So we'll definitely see me there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm considering organizing like a little after skate event for Ultra Skate. So maybe there'll be like a little Miami Beach type thing going on.
Right.
And then I'd really like to make it out to Europe next summer. Been seeing them out this summer and been getting a little FOMO watching them. So would love to be back in Europe next summer. So hopefully you'll see me a few places soon.
Isn't there the Flaming Ruined? Doesn't that go through like a town or something?
It goes through a bunch of towns. Yeah, so I mean it's a big loop that's like 90 kilometers or something like that, and it goes like all through this like farm countryside, and then goes like through these multiple kind of little like picturesque towns. Yeah, I wrote the article about it, which you should definitely check out. But like one of the most unique things about that race is you have to navigate by watch. Like you'll get lost out there, and like you load the file to your watch, and like if you make a wrong turn, your watch will start beeping, and it'll be like turn around, and there'll be like little arrows, and it's the only race I've ever had to do that. And like the navigation component's super cool. And just the European skaters are awesome. Like they're so hospitable and welcoming. So want to get back out there for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. All right. So lastly, is there any social media you want to plug? Anything we should get out there?
I mean, the only thing I want to plug is like, consider supporting the IDSA. If you're not a member already, please become a member. If you are a member, consider going to a higher tier. If your grandmother dies and you get a giant inheritance and you don't know what to do with it, like maybe give us a little chunk. Maybe if you win the lottery, all those situations, like we're ready. Like we're but like in all seriousness, like I guess while I have this opportunity, I just want to like thank a lot of the people that have like kind of helped me on this journey. So like everyone on the advisory board. So like IDSA like has board members like in Europe, and we're going to be kind of expanding. But like there's people like Ralph Mertz, Holger, Leonard, of course Andy and Jonah. Just want to thank them like for trusting me. And then like there's other people like the Cali Littles that planted a bunch of seeds in my brain to maybe inspire me to do some events. And then like good homies like Miles Kipper and Gavin, who like I use as a sounding board a lot. And then I guess just one more time, like Andy, he helped me set up my first bracket board. He showed me nutrition, shared with me training tips. A lot of people contributed. So just want to thank all of them.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for your contributions. Like we've talked about here, you're really holding it down in the IDSA. I don't know what would have happened if you didn't come along, where things would be, but
probably would have been fine.
Yeah, obviously it'd be fine, but it shows the work you've done shows, and that's not a slight against anyone who works, Jonah or Andy or anyone at the IDSA. Like everyone's doing a great job, everyone's playing their part, and you're one of those. So thank you for doing that and for really stepping up, honestly. And of course, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, I appreciate all that. Like, thanks for having me. Like, I really appreciate the opportunity to like explain a little bit where I'm coming from, because I think some people were curious and like, I can't do an interview of myself. So, the opportunities are few and far between. So like, I will admit I was a little like skeptical to do this, but I thought it was important. And I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. Yeah. Coming on, taking the chance and everything. It's not easy to agree to be recorded on someone else's content, no less.
I do not like being camera side. It's been one of the things that I've had to deal with a little bit here. But.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. Well, thanks, man.